Hello everyone, this is Miss Darling in the studio, and we're back today for another session on our Amazon Jumbo Envelope Journal. And this is where we are today, and before we get into today's work, let me just briefly and quickly say I have papers, not only for this journal, but for the one that I'm doing off camera. They're available in my Etsy shop. You'll find links in the description box below this video to all the products and tools that I use in the video. So, hopefully you like. If you like, please indicate so I get encouragement. Share the video with family and friends and make a comment, ask a question. I'm here for you. I'd love to get to know you and have you get to know me a little better as well. With that said, let's get to work. All right, when I left you in the last session, we had completed covering the small window envelopes on each side, and we had done the top of this envelope, and then this is going to be the interior. And so what I've done in the meantime is I've looked through all my fabric swatches, and I've pulled out some fabrics that I like, that I think work color-wise and feeling-wise with the personality of this journal. And so I'm going to be attaching these fabrics to the inside of these two return address envelopes. And you can see they're styled a little differently, so that's what's going to happen there. And this section is already glued down, and then I've chosen these two fabrics which will cover the smaller return address envelope. These happen to be window envelopes, and we've already done this side. I still have yet to pick the imagery that will go in the windows, but that will be down the road. We're there, and then last time I had glued down this image and put a little blue backing behind it, and I have gone ahead and glued this paper pattern down here because I went ahead and glued it because it was annoying me, and I just had to get it down. And so then on this opposite side, for the envelopes that will appear at the back of the journal, I've picked this blue fabric to coordinate with that one, and then I'll have a section that I cut off of this paper is going to go over here. I will have this paper on the flip side of that envelope, and I have yet to decide what to do with that. With that in mind, we will be attacking that part of it in this particular video. Now, I want you to know that when it comes to doing window envelopes, well, and even the envelopes themselves, they come in different sizes, and they of course have different shapes. On the flap side, they have different flaps. So what I like to do, and I think this helps you to be accurate, less frustrated, and quite easier and quicker to make templates. And so what I took is some vellum paper I have in stock, and the reason I use it is because it's semi-transparent. And so I was able, for instance, I showed you last time, I made these window envelopes, not window envelopes, I made these overlays out of the vellum, and I used that to help me cut the paper so that the window fell in the right place and was the right size. I did that for for the top of this envelope and also for the top of that one. And so then I decided, which I had not done in the past, I've also gone to writing on the vellum itself, whether it's, for instance, I have up here, I don't know if you can read it, but it says left small, and this one says right small, so that I know that this template or overlay goes there. This one is left, so it's going to go here, and so on and so forth. I don't need this anymore. That one's been done. But let me show you how I worked on the inside. So this is the fabric that I chose. But I didn't want to take chances on trying to cut this to fit the shape of the envelope. You see, it, when you lift that up, you've got this shape here. And then I do something different with the back part that still shows. I like to use a different fabric or a piece of paper back there to cover that up. So I want to get this cut here, this shape here, and I made an overlay, and I'm going to now cut off the portion that will be underneath, because leaving it on my overlay doesn't really help me cut the fabric like I want to be able to do. And so I'm going to cut away. I put these lines across it when I was making it, so I knew that that was a section I would want to cut away. Then if my fabric's going to lay like this, and you do want to check your fabric to make sure you don't have it upside down from what you want, then I'm going to, all I have to do is put my overlay down, making sure that it does not exceed the bounds of the fabric. I want to cut it short somewhere. Okay, so now it's like I have a sewing pattern, and so I can come in here. I'm going to get my fabric scissors because they are a little more reliable, and I'm going to cut just beyond where my overlay hits, and I intend to fray the fabric there. I do love frayed fabric. And so then I'm going to come in here and just beyond, like maybe about 1/16 of an inch, I'm going to cut my fabric just a hair larger than my overlay. Come on, all right, lay down here. Now on lighter fabric, I just traced around the overlay and then cut it out. It was much easier, but when you've got dark fabric like this one here, even if I traced over it, I wouldn't be able to see it. That's one of the downsides of using a darker fabric when you're working in this method, but we're still going to get it done. Now I'm going to trim this back just a hair. And I already have a nice frayed area on that side. And so I'm done with that particular overlay, and I'm going to rough this up a little bit if I can. And if I can't, that's all right. Got some of it going here. You know, just pulling out some of the threads to give me a little bit of a frayed edge along there. And I especially like to have it along here. And this is the opening part. I do like using fabrics to cover the envelopes because, you know, you've got a pocket there on just about every one of them. And so if that gets a lot of use of someone opening it up to get at something or to store some ephemera, there's going to be some wear and tear on that paper. And I think the fabrics help protect the envelope itself a little better than other paper would do. But again, you got to go with what you have on hand. Obviously, I can't really give you the same fabric that I use, and you have to have your own. Okay, so you see, that did a pretty good job. It's a little on the rough side. I don't mind that because we're talking junk journal. Having it look a little bit ragged is good for the style. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and glue my fabric. I filled up my canisters here, my containers, with more glue, and the more glue you have in them, of course, the heavier you are. But I found that it's easier to get the glue out when your container is full than it is if you don't have very much in there. I don't know why that is. Must have something to do with pressure. Those of you who were good at science in school probably know that. I hated science, to be honest with you. I was an arty gal, and I did enjoy history and geography, and of course art, but I really didn't get art training growing up. I just tried to teach myself. I was a whiz at algebra, and then it went downhill from there, and I struggled with geometry, but especially with trigonometry. My senior year I had trigonometry, and you know how they say something goes in one ear and out the other? I don't think that even penetrated the ear in order to come out the other side. I just couldn't get the hang of that. And fortunately for me, I had a teacher who, lovely man from India, and he was, of course, a math and science whiz. I also had him for physics. And he would take pity on those of us who were just struggling. And if it looked like we had really worked hard on a problem, he would give us half credit. So when it came to doing tests in my exam, I would write a bunch of figures down, make it look like I'd really worked hard on them, probably do a lot of erasing and whatever. And he'd come along and, Oh, very good. It's wrong, but I'll give you half credit. That's the only way I passed that class, believe me. So, I've been eternally grateful to him because I did not want to flunk out of that class. Alright, so now I've got the same size envelope on the other side, and this one has a slightly deeper groove in the envelope. And see, I have marked it left small, so I know that's the overlay, or you can call it a template, but that's the appropriate one for over there. And again, this has this sort of a little bit of a weird shape right up here where it attaches to the sides, and I'm going to try to get that, but if I have to fudge a little, I have to fudge a little. And so will you, perhaps. So I'm cutting away that portion of the overlay. Where I marked it's the back. Okay, that's this part back here that you see in red right now. That will be covered up eventually. So there's that overlay, and so that's going to go on this fabric, and I'm wondering, I'm going to try something different. Okay, I'm going to move this to just behind. So I'm still going to get the same shape, but I'm going to work from the opposite side, and I think I'm going to try to outline this particular one with an ink pen and see if it comes out and I can see it, because if it does, it'll make it a whole lot easier to cut out. So I'm going to be a little more intentional on clipping the overlay to the fabric. Now, you obviously don't want to use an ink pen if you've got fabric where it might show through. But I'm going to make my ink outline a little bit larger than my overlay. Because the last thing I want to do is to cut the fabric too small. I don't have any more of this fabric, so if I made a mistake and cut it too small, I would be in trouble in terms of my design, and I would have to regroup. So now that I have an outline back here, I think it'll be a whole lot easier to cut my shape appropriately. Obviously, if you're doing this with a piece of paper, it's even more simple, because your paper's going to be probably a little on the, for sure on the stiffer side. This is just a simple cotton country print that I have here. Okay, and you see how I'm making sure it's just a little bit bigger than my overlay. Oop. Get a little clumsy there, Miss Darling. Okay. So now I'm done with the overlay, and I'll be turning this over. And if I did something wrong, I'm going to be very disappointed. I did not do something wrong. It is fully covering what I needed to cover. And so now, this time, okay, last time I put my glue on the fabric itself, and this time we're going to change it up. This, you know, just goes to show you there's more than one way to do something, and it's a little bit hard to put this tackier glue on the fabric. The fabric keeps getting caught on it, and it really is better in many regards to just, you know, glue the envelope itself. Put your glue on the envelope and then rest your fabric on top of that. So we'll see how this goes. Now, one of the things about fabric is that you can pull it, you know, and stretch it a bit to get it to cover the way you want. But do be careful of doing that if your fabric has vertical or horizontal lines, because if you go pulling on it and stretching it, you're going to make those lines start, you know, curving, and you're not going to be happy with the end product when your lines are kind of disjointed like that. So now I got a little too much overhang here, so I'm going to trim a little of that off. I'd rather have it too big and have to trim a little than the other way around. And I have to stop briefly as my clip is about to run out. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Now we move on to the next. And so next, I want to glue down this fabric to this envelope. And you guessed it, I have a template for that, or an overlay. Because it really is, well, it could be either word. Okay, tall with flap open. So that's not the right one. Tall window, tall open, no flap. That's not the right shape. This one says right tall, and that is the one I'm looking for. So be sure you label them if you're making several, otherwise you can get confused quite easily. This particular, I need to cut away this portion that will be in the back. This curves around a little bit right here, and then we have a straight section here. Excuse me if my hands shake. I'm trying to be extra careful on cutting this. I don't want to skew my shape. Okay, so I cut that away. And now here's a good case example where I've got a very strong horizontal pattern here. And so I'm not going to want to be stretching and pulling on this. So I definitely want to cut this larger. And so I'm going to check again. So if I was laying my fabric here, then this, I just lay my fabric over that and then flip it over. Because that pen worked out pretty well, I'm going to use that technique again. And this isn't quite as dark as one of the other fabrics, so I can do that quite easily. So if you're concerned about it moving on you, you know, by all means, put a clamp in there. When you clamp it, it does make it a little more difficult to cut. And so this one, I'm even going to cut a little bit wider than 1/16 of an inch. This particular fabric frays a lot easier than some of the others. And so when you have a fabric that frays very easily, you want to give yourself some extra grace in the size you cut, because it could even fray more on you than you want it to, and then wind up a little too small. Okay, we're done with that template, and we're coming back to this side. Okay, forgot I had to turn it back over to get to the, now that's, I did go quite a bit over, and I've got quite a section back here, plus a blue envelope. And so if you've got a colored envelope, this, well, even if it's a white envelope, you know, I just take the time to blacken the edge. I'm using a Faber-Castell black permanent ink pen. This will not come off. So if you use wet glue or water for any reason, it's not going to smear on you. It's a permanent ink, but also because it is permanent, you want to be careful you don't ink where you don't want it. You can always, at the end, come back and touch something up, but it's a little easier to do these little tricks beforehand if you think of them, or if you're quite certain you're going to need it. And I don't want to take any chances with this blue showing through on my edges anywhere. So we'll just go ahead and ink it out, and I'm going to do it up here as well. I will be covering that back section with fabric or paper before I'm finished. And we'll just kind of get rid of that blue right up front. I have links to those pens in the description box in case you want them. They come in a pack of, I think it's 5 in a box. Although I think you can buy some of them as individual. And like we did before, I'm going to put my glue on the envelope itself rather than the fabric. So while you're just watching me, tell me where on the planet you live and where you went to school. What were your favorite classes? Say in high school. I do ink these up quite a bit because otherwise you can have your fabric buckle on you in places. So I want to adhere as much of it as possible. And I don't worry about that fold there because that's going to get pulled out. So I'm making sure that I'm, first of all, covering the outside. And hopefully, you want to try as best you can to get your lines, you know, straight with the edges of your envelope. It is one reason to maybe avoid fabric with lines, but I was more concerned about color and style and feeling, and not about. Now, because this particular, I need to use a smaller snipper. Because I know that this fabric really frays a lot, I'm going to go ahead and fold it, you know, glue it and fold it over onto the inside. This will prevent it from fraying too much where I don't want it. It's going to help protect that inside edge of the envelope. But it's also going to help us see the design, the cut of this particular envelope. Okay, so we've got fraying on the top and the outside, but this is folded under, and then I'll have to decide. I'll probably put a piece of paper, decorative paper, that will coordinate well with this fabric back there. I'm going to just get that corner a little better. And you want to burnish it down well. The larger your field is, the more you want to be careful and do a good job of burnishing. Alright, so we've got that side, and I'm going to close this up so it's easier to manage. And now I have this side. So I look for the tall. This has a deeper cut, so I think that we will plan on here's that overlay, and it says left tall. So I know it goes on the left taller envelope. And I need to cut away this section that I marked as being for the background. I think it's fun for your journal too, to make sure you have different types of envelopes so that everything isn't duplicated exactly the same. I think it's more fun and surprising. So now I keep my template there, and whichever side, this side is going to be my upside, so I'm going to lay that down on top, and then flip the whole thing over, and then I will trace my shape. With another ink pen. Well, not because I think I'm going to fold this one as well. So I'm going to give this a good, like, ½ an inch or so. That'll give me plenty of fabric there to fold over onto the inside. I could have used a little more fabric on the other one, but I hadn't decided at that point to fold the fabric under. You're not going to likely pre-plan everything you're doing. So That's the underside, and here's my overside. So I'm going to line this up. I will line it up where I'm as even as possible along this outer side, and then however much fabric I have left over is how much I will use for my fold over. I hope you're able to follow along with me easily on this. If not, you know, ask me questions, point out to me where I'm failing you, and I will not only respond to you, I will correct my behavior as best I can. Take extra care to put ample glue along the edges and corners. Okay, now this is going to I'm being very careful how much I pull on it. You don't want to skew those lines if I can help it. Now I will need to snip this middle part just a bit, you know, just like you do with sewing. Glue came through a little bit, but when it dries that probably won't show. And in addition to that, I may also be gluing some ephemera down over on top of the fabric too, so I just don't worry too much about that kind of thing. By the way, Fabrifix ruins your nail polish. So every time I work with it, usually, I have to redo my nail polish. Is it just me, or do other people, do you find that when you wear red nail polish, it seems to come off and scuff other things up? I don't see that happening with other colors that I occasionally wear, but I have definitely found it to happen repeatedly when I wear red. Alright, now you see we have a nice shape, and I will put a background fabric or image in there, and we'll have a nice little pocket there. Okay, so we've taken care of this, we've taken care of this, we've glued that, and we've glued that. And so we have, when we open it, we have window envelopes on each side, and then we'll open it and we have a pocket here and a pocket over here. And then we flip this flap, we have a pocket here and a pocket here. And then of course you can put other pockets or corner tucks or whatever you want to on it. I probably won't because of the design, but I probably will come in with some ephemera on each of those inside flaps and something else here to dress those up a bit. And I do have to find images for there. And I'm almost out of time, so I have 2 more pieces I'm going to glue down with you today, and so we're making good progress. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off for now, and I'll be switching glue because now I'll be working with paper. And I'm going to take a quick break and start a new clip. I'll be right back. And here we are. Now I will work with my art glitter glue. And I have already pre-cut this using a template just like I did on the fabric, but I went ahead and did those in order to save time. So now this one will go over there. Oh, I'm going to get a faster glue. Hate having to glue something down with a pretty pattern on the back that will never be seen again. It's too bad, but I wanted what's on the other side. I thought it was perfect for what I'm doing. This particular paper kind of has a bit of a vinyl feel to it. It's quite shiny. I don't quite know how I feel about that. I usually like all my papers to be matte. But, okay, that worked out perfectly. And now I'm going to glue the top down. And I did cut this just a hair, maybe a 1/16 of an inch bigger than my overlay, because I do not want that envelope showing underneath. I can always trim it back, but I can't add to it if it's too small. If you like this floral print, it is in my DigiKit, so you can acquire it and download it and use it yourself. Now I'll have to do something here. I think I'll do that in fabric, and that'll be in the next video because we're running out of time. And so then this one is going to cover here, and this was just a real straight fit, no special cuts had to be made. And so I went and did that already off camera. And I want to make sure my flowers are facing up, not down. And so you always want to double check it before you lay it down. Alright, so here's how this particular journal is going to finish up. This is the outside cover, or I should say it's the inside outside cover. Here's the real outside cover. This was the Amazon envelope that we covered, and this is going to be tucked in there. Okay, so you would open it up this way. This is the inside cover, and I will probably do more to these pages. And this right now is loose and separate. It will be attached in the end. So then you flip this over and you've got this. Then you open that. You've got pockets here. Open that. Pockets here. Other ephemera. Things will be going inside. Close it back up. Flip it one more time. And now you've got a window envelope here, yet to be done, and a pocket there, and another envelope, and this time the pocket, and make sure that doesn't glue itself down. So you'll turn that, and the pocket is up here on that flip side. I got some glue on this underside, so I need to let that sit open while it dries. And so there's a pocket there, and then there's a large pocket here, and this is where we're going to decorate and insert those little pharmacy envelopes that I showed you when we were in the construction phase. And if you want to see those, I'm going to put links to all the former videos in the description box below this video, so it'll be easy for anyone who's just dropping by now to go back and watch those and catch up with us. So there we have that, and then you would close this and then close that. Okay? And I am putting in mine, which I'll show you at the end, some extra ephemera that will have plenty of places on it for journaling, because as we're fully decorating this journal, there's really not being left any space for journaling, but we will take care of that at the end, not to worry. All right, so I need to leave this open so that it doesn't dry up on me. Anyway, that's going to be it for this section, and thank you for sticking with me. Remember, I have an Etsy shop where you can get some of these papers for your own projects and other things as well, and there's ephemera there for you. Always check my description boxes for links to tools and other things that are not in the Etsy shop. And if you found this of value, please like, share, comment, hit the notification bell so that you're notified whenever I upload a new video. And at this point, this is Miss Darling calling this a wrap. Bye-bye.